Good morning. Yesterday, we talked about how some women are being kind of force fed this idea that every woman who can become pregnant has a duty to become pregnant. And I mentioned a little bit about the Today Show and how it's kind of become mommy and me, and how many shows, all they care about is which celebrity is pregnant now. And let's look at the baby bump. And oh, look, it's a baby boy or it's twins. And Beyonce breaks the internet when she announces she's pregnant with twins. And then she puts her naked pregnant body out on social media. And for some reason, that's not considered pornographic. But if I put a picture of myself in a bikini up on some kinds of social media, I'll get reported for vulgarity. Yeah, really? Hey, I look pretty good in a bikini. But today I want to talk about how television and these people we turn into celebrities, normal everyday people, influence the way society now sees pregnancy as something that is kind of a status symbol, really. And it's definitely a moneymaker if you do it right. But when you do it wrong, it can go horribly wrong, as Nadia Schuleman, the Octomom, found out the hard way. When I was growing up, I became a woman, so to speak, a teenager and a woman, in the late 70s and early 80s. And I don't remember ever hearing any news reporter or anybody talking about birth control like it was some sort of verboten sin. Never. When I was 19 years old, when I started becoming sexually active, I immediately went to my gynecologist and I got a prescription for the birth control pill because I did not want to become pregnant. And even though the person I was having sex with at the time swore to me that he had had a vasectomy, I wasn't going to stand for that, so I went on the pill. And I went to the pharmacy, I gave them the prescription, they filled it. No problems, no questions asked. When I worked, every company I worked for, from 1987 to 1994, all of our health insurance policies covered birth control. We had to pay out of pocket a little bit, but it was covered. There was never any question that the boss would come out and say, I don't believe in birth control. It's not going on the insurance policy. You women in my employ, you want birth control, you pay for it 100% yourself. That never happened. Only now, recently, has this all become this big deal, where a craft store like Hobby Lobby, not a Christian anything, it's not a church, it sells crafts like Michaels and AC Moore, but they went to the Supreme Court of the United States to stop their female employees from using birth control. And believe me, I don't care what you say. When I say stop, I mean it, because birth control is not cheap. And when you work for a company and you get company health insurance, you expect your prescription medication, all of it, to be covered under your corporate plan. And that includes birth control. The company covers maternity care. It covers the pregnant woman, all her well visits, her delivery, her medical expenses for delivering the baby, being in the hospital, all of it. They pay her disability, for God's sake, for 6 weeks maternity leave. But Hobby Lobby's CEO won't pay for your birth control because his church doesn't believe in birth control. Well, that's not his right, by the way. It is not your boss's right to force his religious beliefs for or against birth control on you. What he needs to do is offer a prescription plan, and any prescription written by your doctor should be covered under that plan, and that includes birth control. Something else that started coming up in the last, I'd say, 10 years is news commentators and certain Republican Christian right candidates trying to compare birth control to abortion. Like when you use birth control, you're killing something because they believe abortion is murder. Now, I'm not talking about abortion right here. I'm not. Although I do believe abortion, because it is legal, it's safe, and it is surgery, should be covered under insurance plans, especially if it is used to save a woman's life from a pregnancy that will kill her. But that's another show. But birth control doesn't kill anything. It doesn't destroy anything. Birth control stops pregnancy from happening in the first place. It doesn't get rid of an already existing pregnancy. And yet now, in this day and age, in the 21st century, we have pharmacists who refuse to fill a birth control prescription because it's against their religion. And then we have Hobby Lobby saying that they will not allow birth control to be on their insurance plan for their employees, even if their employees don't happen to have the same religious beliefs as the CEO does. Here's what people tell the Hobby Lobby employees. If you don't like Hobby Lobby's rules about birth control, then go get another job. Well, just to be fair and square, I tell the pharmacist who, because of his religious beliefs or her religious beliefs, refuses to fill a legal doctor-prescribed birth control script, you need to quit your job and go work for a church or something. Because if Hobby Lobby's CEO has the right to tell a female employee she has to pay out of her own pocket for her birth control or she can go work somewhere else, then I have a right to get any pharmacist who refuses to fill a legal doctor-written script for birth control, which is that person's job. I should be able to get that person fired just as well. You don't like your job, your religion tells you you can't do your job, get another job. But you don't dare tell me you're not going to fill my birth control script or any script a doctor writes for me because your church doesn't believe in it. Because when you walk into your job at your CVS or your Walgreens or your Rite Aid, you are not in church. And I'm paying you for a service that you were hired to provide. And you better provide it. Or else I'm going to have your job. Now, I do remember back, I don't remember the date. I just remember my mom and I were watching television, regular network TV, NBC. It was NBC. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 breaking news. And it was the birth of the McCoy septuplets, right? Ann Curry, she was all over this story. They broke into like Dynasty. And for the next hours, every time one of the McCoy septuplets was born, it's a boy, it's a girl. They broke in like this was breaking national, international news. And then when the McCoy septuplets went home to their free new house that people donated, and their free washers and dryers that was donated, their free car that people donated, the free diapers they got for the lifetime of when the kids need diapers. Oh, and by the way, some of those kids might still be in diapers, and they're adults now. But I know at least 2 of the children were born. One, I think, was born with cerebral palsy, a very debilitating illness. And I think 1 or 2 of the other ones has learning disabilities. That is because Mrs. McCoy was told during her carrying 7 children, by the way, they already had 1 healthy, happy child, but they just had to get pregnant again, and they went large the second time around. They went for 7. She was told to reduce the pregnancy for her health and the health of the babies, and she refused to do it based on her religious values. So a couple of her septuplets are disabled in certain ways. I guess one may even be living off your tax dollars right now. But they got all this free shit. And right around that time, the Today Show was having this family on called the Duggars. And they had already had 14 kids. But then every time Michelle Duggar got pregnant, they got to go to New York and be on the Today Show. We have a big announcement. It's like it wasn't hard to guess. We're expecting. And then a network called the Learning Channel gave them a show. called, and eventually it was called 19 and Counting. And there was someone watching very, very closely that all the attention these multiple births were getting. The septuplets got a free house, a nice house, a nice car, all this free crap. The Duggars got a TV show, speaking engagements, they wrote books on how men are in charge of the household, you can't say no to your husband when he asks for sex, and all you're good for is having babies or becoming a midwife and birthing babies. That's what girls are good for in the Duggar household. You know how it works. It's called the quiver religion. Craziest bunch of people I've ever set eyes on. But, hey, they're supporting themselves on TV. But Nadia Schulman was watching all this and thinking, wow, I'm a single mom. I don't have a good job. Don't have any husband or boyfriend that's willing to marry me and take care of me and the kids I have. Let me get myself pregnant by artificial insemination with a sperm donor. Let me find a quack doctor that will actually inseminate a single woman with no job, no husband, no boyfriend, with 8 embryos. And she found a doctor that was stupid enough to do that. He has since lost his license, thank God. And she had 8 babies. She was named Octomom. And yes, she did get a lot of attention. She had her 15 minutes of fame. But you know, people in this country, I guess we are more conservative than Nadia thought, because, see, we don't like seeing single chicks getting sperm donors to impregnate them 8 times just to get on TV. We don't like that. We don't like women who use children and the birth of children to get free shit. Even though the Duggars do it and the McCoys did it, but at least they were a nice Christian, they're nice Christian married couples. This was a single bitch, no husband, no job, already had a kid, found a quack doctor, got herself impregnated artificially with 8 kids, and the public lost interest real quick. And she ended up losing custody of most of her children, if not all of them, because the welfare people in the state she lived in, the taxpayers, were tired of paying for her and her 9 children, 8 of which she chose to have just in order to get famous. This is the problem. This is the problem. When we make people famous simply because they have a lot of kids, there's other people watching. There's other people watching. And I don't care what you say about the Duggars. Oh, the kids are so happy. Yeah, really? Really? Have you heard about Josh Duggar, the pedophile who molested his sisters when he was 14, and his babysitter went to rehab after having 4 children with his wife and then cheating on her on that, oh God, I forget the show, it's the website it's on, but he was basically cheating on his wife. But see, the quiver religion, the Duggars, they don't get divorced. I will give the Duggars credit, though. They did take care of Josh's wife and their 4 children while Josh was off getting help for his problem. And then the second he gets out of rehab, Anna's pregnant again, because divorce is out of the question if you're a Duggar. If your last name is Duggar or you're married to a Duggar, you will not get divorced. Your husband can beat the shit out of you. He can cheat on you. He can rape little kids. You don't get divorced. You pray about it. You pray on it. And you send them off to rehab. And then they come home and you keep having babies with them, which is exactly what Anna Duggar did. What was she supposed to do? Her religion says a woman can't go out and have a career. She can't go be a lawyer or get a good job and support her and her 4 kids. So what was she to do? She had to turn to her in-laws, Michelle and Jim Bob Duggar. They took care of her while Josh got help. And then Josh came back and she forgave him for fucking around with whores and molesting little kids when he was 14. And she had another baby with him just recently. Mason. He's, I don't know, almost a year old now. But yeah, they proudly announced the birth of their 5th child. You know what? I don't care what God says or what any religion tells me. There is no way in freaking any hellfire that I am not only going to stay married to a pedophile and a wife, an adulterer, that I would stay married to him, let alone continue to birth his children. No religion's going to brainwash me that bad. He's kicked to the curb. He's going to give my 4 children I already have with him child support, and I'm off on my own. He's going to pay for me to get an education. And I would definitely be leaving that quiver thing that they do, because that's just nuts. But see, this is the problem. This is why society has become so obsessed with pregnancy and childbirth, and even all this science now, this in vitro fertilization, embryonic stuff where you can clone a baby or make a baby with blue eyes like Christy Teigen and John Legend are trying to do. They say, well, we're going to tell them what kind of baby we want and they'll fix it for us. You got 45-year-old actresses having babies. Janet Jackson, 50 years old, having a baby. It sends the wrong message to our young girls. It sends a message that your health doesn't matter. All that matters is that you become a mother. You get pregnant. You get the baby bump. You get the baby shower. You get all the attention. And it doesn't matter if your health is at risk. I mean, what have you got to lose, right? You'll be dead, and whoever the baby's father is, if you even know, I mean, Nadia Schuleman has no idea who her octuplet's father is. He was just a donor. Who's going to take care of your children if, God forbid, you die during the pregnancy? Because you're 45, you're 50. You knew all the risks, but you took them anyway. Just to have another kid. Add to your collection. I find that sad. I find anyone who collects pregnancies and children as a hobby, I find that very sad. In fact, it is an illness. It's called pregnancy addiction. They're not addicted to actually being parents. They're just addicted to being pregnant and having a newborn in the house. And as soon as the newborn doesn't need them as much anymore and starts to walk and stuff and be more independent, they need to get pregnant right away again. Because they need that pregnancy. They need the attention pregnancy gets them. The attention having a newborn gets them. The attention having 19 kids gets you. And it's scary. It scares the hell out of me. And it scares the hell out of me because people tell me that I'm the one with the problem. I'm abnormal because I don't want any children. That my other friends that I know from my support groups, from the groups, not support groups, we don't need support. We know what we're doing. But those groups I told you about yesterday that are invitation only, that we have to have closed groups to meet other people who are child-free like we are. We chose to be child-free forever. But somehow it's something to be ashamed of. This is why the McCoys, Octomom, the Duggars, Kate plus 8. She even divorced the son of a bitch she had her kids with and still got famous, still made money off of having those kids. I don't know, I'm sorry, I think it's weird. Not being judgmental necessarily, I'm not saying you can't do it. But I'm saying just because you can do it, you need to ask yourself, should you do it? And like Octomom found out, it doesn't always work out the way you expect. I mean, she went through a lot giving birth to those 8 babies. Because she thought she was going to be the next Duggar clan. Or the next 8 plus 8. She had 9 kids now, so she would have been 1 up on Kate. She lost her bet. You don't hear her name anymore. In fact, she doesn't even have custody of her children anymore. And that's a good thing, because at the end of the day, she never really wanted those children. She never intended to care for them herself. She wanted all of us to tune in to her TV show and pay to raise her children. She wanted to put them in front of the cameras 24/7. Exploit them so she could make money and be famous. And she lost. And I don't want any of you girls out there to watch Duggars and 8 plus 8 and all this other crap and think that just because Sarah Palin's teenage daughter has been able to have, what, 2, 3 kids by 3 different dads, and she's doing okay, that doesn't mean you can do it. Because it's a far cry from Sarah Palin, the former governor of Alaska, to being her daughter and having 3 kids to 3 different daddies, and being in your own skin, in your own house, and having 3 different kids to 3 different daddies. Because your parents probably can't afford to hook you up on Dancing with the Stars or get you a book deal like Bristol Palin got. It is not cool to have a whole bunch of kids just because you can. It is not cool to have any child because somebody else tells you that's what you should do. Because your parents want to be grandparents. That's not a reason to get pregnant. What I said yesterday stands. Being a parent is the most important job any of you who choose to do it will ever have. And you better make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. That you plan for it. And that you give those kids that you choose to bring into this world the best possible life you can give them. Because believe me, people like me, the taxpayers, are sick and tired of you come calling on our door to help support your kids. And that's your job. I'm tired of paying school taxes so your kids get free breakfast and free lunch every day. That's not my job. When I went to school, my mom packed my lunch. Back when you could actually have a peanut butter sandwich in your lunch. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich, cheese sandwich, an apple, a candy bar. My mom fed me breakfast every morning. Oatmeal, toast, a bowl of cereal. On Saturdays, I got waffles, maybe some scrambled eggs. My mother fed me. It's a parent's job to feed their children. It's not the school's job. It's not my job. It's not my husband's job. It's your job when you choose to bring a child into this world. It is your job to pay their medical bills, to pay their medical expenses, to get them health insurance. That's your job. Not our job. Not our job. I have spent well over, I would say, at least $50,000 in 30 years on birth control, out of my pocket, to stay child-free. It kills me when I know that even maybe more money in my tax dollars has gone to support children I will never meet. Children who were born into families who could not afford them, knew they couldn't afford them, but had them anyway. Because that's what people do, right? We get married, we have babies. No, see, babies are not a right. Babies are a privilege. And it's time that American women and men start treating them like the privilege they are. Start planning for them. Start preparing for them like they plan and prepare for their fancy vacations to Greece or to the Bahamas or wherever you people go. You need to plan more for your children than you do for your vacation. And sometimes it's just not in the cards. Not everybody gets to be pregnant. Not everybody gets to be a mommy and a daddy. And for those out there who use religion for everything, I'll just say to you, let go and let God. You don't get pregnant, you weren't meant to have babies. You know, you tell me to let go and let God, that everything is God's will. And yet when it comes to having children, you don't accept God's will. You got to go all over the world to try to get yourself pregnant, to try to find a way. Why can't you accept God's will? Why do I have to accept God's will when crap happens? When good people in my family get hurt or die? When my 18-year-old cousin is paralyzed after a car accident on black ice, just driving to work? Why am I not allowed to say, well, that was God's will. When you all can't accept God's will, when you can't get pregnant, you got to go to then you go to science. You don't believe in evolution. You don't believe in science class in our public schools. You homeschool your kids so they can only learn that God made the world in 7 days. Evolution, dinosaurs, oh no, that never happened. But boy, when it comes to getting pregnant and God doesn't let you have a baby the old-fashioned way, you go running to the scientists, don't you? You'll do anything you can, even if it's not God's will. And sometimes, like Octomom, you pay for it. Political Paula, out.